What if I told you there are places on Earth so haunted, so steeped in darkness, that even the bravest ghost hunters have turned back, swearing never to return? Across continents, through centuries of whispered legends and chilling encounters, certain sites have earned a reputation that sends shivers down the spines of even the most skeptical. These are not mere haunted houses. These are crossroads where history meets the unknown, where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the living find themselves at the mercy of forces they cannot explain. Tonight, we journey through 10 of the most terrifying haunted places on the planet. And by the time we reach number 3, you'll understand why the authorities want no one going near. Imagine yourself in the hushed corridors of the Tower of London, England. This ancient fortress is one of the world's most infamous landmarks, not only for its regal heritage, but for centuries of bloodshed, betrayal, and executions. Its stone walls have witnessed the undoing of kings and the demise of queens. Most famously, the restless spirit of Anne Boleyn, executed on Tower Green in 1536, is said to wander the grounds, clutching her severed head, her spectral figure gliding silently along the corridors after hours. Yeoman warders, the very guardians of the tower, recount cold shivers, choked whispers, and the chilling tap of unseen footsteps. The place feels alive, as if haunted not by one story, but by hundreds, each vying for your attention from the shadows. Across the Atlantic, we visit the ruins of the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, USA. Once hailed as a model prison, with its imposing Gothic architecture and solitary confinement cells, it degenerated into a hell of its own making. Paranormal teams have captured unexplained, shadowy figures caught darting through empty, crumbling corridors. Footsteps ring out from halls that should be silent. Even guards admit to seeing faces peering from the darkness, only to vanish when approached. The prison's inmates endured unimaginable suffering, and many never left, at least not completely. Travel with us to the Loire Valley of France, where Château de Brissac towers above the gentle countryside. Behind its majestic facade lies a tale of grotesque betrayal. The legend of the Green Lady, Charlotte, doomed by murder in the 15th century, has persisted for centuries. Her apparition, clad in a green dress, is seen at dawn, her phantom face contorted in an eternal scream. Guests report the air growing cold, a sense of watching eyes, and sometimes that unshakable presence just behind them as they ascend the stairs. The nobility once danced inside these walls. Now, only the haunted echoes of sorrow remain. Off the coast of Venice, Italy, lies Poveglia Island, a name that chills even locals. For centuries, it was a place of despair. First, a quarantine island during plague epidemics, and later, an asylum for the mentally ill. More than 100,000 people were buried there in mass graves, their agony permeating the soil. Fishermen steer clear, claiming they still hear cries from deep below. Those rare few who make landfall describe a suffocating sense of dread and the voices of the past whispering from beneath their feet. The Italian government has long since closed the island to the public, leaving its dark legacy undisturbed. Few places on Earth elicit as much raw unease as the Aokigahara forest in Japan. Known worldwide as the Suicide Forest, this dense woodland at the base of Mount Fuji traps sound and distorts direction. Compasses spin wildly. Within the tangled roots, people report the unnerving sensation of being watched, and unexplained screams punctuate the silence. Local legend says that Yurei, the vengeful spirits of the dead, inhabit the mossy floor, drawing the desolate ever deeper. In Aokigahara, the line between life and death, between the physical and the supernatural, blurs until all that's left is an oppressive, inescapable presence. Journey now to the sun-scorched ruins of Bhangar Fort in Rajasthan, India. No one enters after sunset, not by superstition, but by law. It's said a powerful sorcerer cursed the land centuries ago, dooming its people. Today, villagers live miles from the ancient walls, warning that those who stay overnight are lost forever. Entry after dark is strictly prohibited, and for good reason. Visitors describe a blanket of silence falling at dusk, shattered only by ghostly laughter and inhuman wails. The air grows icy cold, and shifting shadows seem to take on a life of their own. In the American South, where the Spanish moss hangs heavy, the Myrtles Plantation stands as a monument to tragedy. Built atop Native American burial grounds and infamous for its tales of murder, it boasts at least a dozen resident ghosts. The most notorious is Chloe, a former slave girl wronged and then hanged by her fellow servants. Guests see her spectral figure peering from between the plantation's columns. A particular mirror is said to trap the souls of the dead. Fingerprints inexplicably appear and fade, no matter how often it's cleaned. The air grows cold and thick with sorrow. And one photograph, taken in daylight, captures a young girl's ghostly silhouette, its authenticity still debated by experts decades later. Number 3 is a place so fearsome that even local authorities stay silent. The ruined compound of Unit 731 in Harbin, China. Established during World War II by the Japanese Imperial Army, Unit 731 was a covert biological experimentation facility responsible for some of the most gruesome atrocities in history. Bodies were buried in unmarked graves, their suffering all but erased from official records. But at night, neighbors insist the air turns electric. Screams can be heard echoing over the broken walls, and shadowy figures pace the grounds. The Chinese government has permanently sealed the site, denying access to all but a select few researchers. Those who've returned refuse to speak of what they found inside. The weight of secrets left behind is nearly as tangible as the chill that settles over the place at sundown. Number 2 brings us to the ancient Ram Inn in England's Cotswolds. This former medieval inn, built in 1145, sits atop the intersection of 2 ley lines, supposed lines of supernatural power, on what was once a pagan burial ground. It's infamous for tales of satanic rituals, child sacrifice, and demonic presences. Investigators from around the world, equipped with every gadget imaginable, have reported being hurled across rooms, choked by invisible hands, or overwhelmed by feelings of terror so acute they fled in the darkness, leaving their belongings behind. Even hardened paranormal experts are reluctant to spend the night. It's a place that doesn't just scare, it scars. At the summit of our list is the Island of the Dolls, an eerie speck of land in the canals of Xochimilco, south of Mexico City. Thousands upon thousands of decaying dolls, some missing limbs, others with cracked porcelain faces, are strung from the branches, their lifeless glass eyes following visitors with silent accusation. The island's caretaker began collecting and hanging them to appease the spirit of a drowned girl, whose apparition, some say, still moans for justice after midnight. Electronics malfunction inexplicably. Visitors swear to hear whispered voices, swinging dolls, tapping against tree trunks in the still air. Some leave gifts, hoping to avoid the island's hidden wrath. Few return after nightfall, their courage bested by the sense that here the line between life and death has been erased. Experts in the supernatural have long tried to separate myth from reality, facts from fever dreams. Paranormal researcher Dr. Emily Rivers points out that across these disparate locations, recurring phenomena persist. Many of these locations show recurring patterns, electromagnetic spikes, cold spots, and consistent witness accounts over decades. That's not coincidence. That's residual energy. Even with skepticism as their armor, many researchers leave with more questions than answers. For historian Marcus Vail, the terror in these places is not solely a product of the mind. What makes these places so terrifying isn't just the sightings, it's the unanswered questions tied to them. You're not just walking into a haunted house, you're stepping into a historical wound. Ghosts, he argues, are not only the departed, but the stories and traumas that refuse closure, tragedies imprinted on the very fabric of stone, wood, earth, and memory. But are these really the only places hiding such secrets? Consider this. These 10 locations are only the most infamous, hardly the limits of humanity's ghostly geography. What of the hidden places, those erased from maps, shrouded in impenetrable secrecy, protected by government decree or burning fields of superstition? What stories cling to the ruins you're never allowed to visit, to the bunkers under mountain ranges, to villages abandoned overnight with no trace of their people? There are corridors unlit, archives unopened, and whispers that have never reached the public ear. And if this list disturbed you, remember, there are stranger places still. In our next descent, we'll take you somewhere so secret, it required the cooperation of 3 governments to keep its location veiled for over 60 years. What haunts a place must not only terrify, but threaten understanding itself. These stories have become global legends, embedded in local folklore and broadcast in trembling whispers by those who claim to have survived an encounter. And yet, for each report, each blurry photograph and frantic EVP recording, more questions emerge than answers. Are the energies described by researchers a product of human fear and suggestion? Or is there truly something left behind? Something that can touch, influence, and terrify the living? Each visit, every investigation, seems only to deepen the mysteries. In the end, ghost stories may offer an explanation, a way to make sense of suffering, or history's countless injustices. But what happens when soldiers, scientists, and lifelong skeptics, those who pride themselves on their rationality, return from these places shaken, unable to explain away the horrors they've witnessed? When people who mock the idea of curses or wandering spirits find themselves sleepless, haunted by nightmares and visions they cannot forget, are these sights truly the domain of the supernatural? Or do they harbor something else, something worse, a timeless darkness, eager for new company? Tonight's journey is only the beginning. The darkness does not end at the threshold of these 10 infamous haunts. It lingers in every abandoned corridor, every echoing cell, every unopened crypt. As long as we are drawn to what we cannot understand or refuse to believe, there will always be more to find, more to fear. So ask yourself, when you feel that chill crawl up your spine, when a shadow seems to linger just a moment too long, when the silence of night is broken by an inexplicable sound, is it merely imagination? Or is it the past reaching out, refusing to rest? Whatever you choose to believe, one thing is certain: the world is a stranger, more haunted place than it seems. Don't sleep on this, because the next time you wake in darkness, you might realize you're not alone. Stay curious and prepare for the next descent into the unknown. The most terrifying stories are always the ones that remain untold.